ladies and gentlemen. It's Ukraine, Russia, China show on Pod TV. My name is Sasha Star, and our guest today is Dr. Jonathan Lockwood. Welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you, Sasha. Glad to be here as always.
Okay, and also Mark Lee our producer, will assist us with this program. Uh,
How you doing, Sasha and Jonathan? Glad to be here with you.
yeah. So we are going to have next week supposedly a meeting between Trump and Putin. And do you think Jonathan Putin is ripe for the meeting with Trump, or he needs a little bit more work on him of some kind?
He needs a little bit more persuasion from the Ukrainians, like a few more heavy battlefield defeats to persuade him that his previous course of action is not getting him what he wants. And he might be well advised to cut his losses, simply declare victory, and go home.
Yeah. Okay. Mark, maybe you have some questions for Jonathan. I will leave you for a few minutes, and I will be back.
Sounds good and everything. So I definitely have some questions. One of the things I've been hearing about Jonathan, and I've actually brought it up to Sasha, is apparently there is a decline in popularity with Zelensky and all along those lines. And there's been some talk about that in Western media. And I know you're a subject matter expert. So what is your take on this notion? Because apparently there was some agency that was trying to make sure that there were not corruption within Ukraine. And it is caused for some decline in his popularity. And we know that leaders of any country can have ebbs and flows in their popularity. So I'm just wondering, it's just the typical natural inclination of leadership where you have the ebb and flow of popularity?
Well, I would say that Zelensky, in you have to consider it popularity within the context of the situation that leader is in.
Right.
Zelensky, unlike leaders of other nations, he is involved in an existential fight for his own country's existence.
Right.
And so popularity is a relative thing, and the Ukrainians are not going to be against him because they are not in favor of their own continued existence. That's not going to be the case at all. If they have a problem with Zelensky, it might be with his degree of effectiveness in getting more aid for Ukraine,
Right.
or is he a more effective negotiator? And again, I don't think that's the case either, because in this case, any popularity evaluations on the part of outside analysts in my opinion, they are failing to take into account the full context of the situation that Zelensky is in.
Yeah.
And so, in one sense, it really is irrelevant what his popularity is with the Ukrainian people. Keep in mind also, just using a historical analogy, Abraham Lincoln during the American Civil War was not all that popular with him, and he had one heck of a re-election fight in 1864 when his own former general McClellan challenged him for the presidency as the nominee of the Democratic Party.
Mm-hmm.
This is during the American Civil War, and yet Lincoln prevailed, and he was supported, and therefore he successfully concluded the American Civil War. So I would be very wary of using popularity polls or perceived popularity from outside analysts as a basis for determining how strong Zelensky really is. What it really comes down to are the Ukrainian people willing to support him in order to continue the fight against the Russian invaders and defeat them. And that is quite clear that they are very much in favor of that.
That makes a lot of sense. There's two things, and even Trump has talked about possibly getting one of these that people are oftentimes very much looking at, particularly from a media standpoint and a global standpoint. But I was just wondering, what are the chances that we will see Zelensky get a Times Magazine Person of the Year or a Nobel Peace Prize in the near future, and all along those lines?
Oh, what are the potential political benefits for Zelensky?
Uh-huh.
Well, now, if he, for example, if the best possible case for Zelensky, again, from my evaluation, would be if he manages to launch a successful counteroffensive, as I've talked about previously, a successful counteroffensive on a successful counteroffensive that clearly defeats the Russians operationally in the field. And my view would be that if they successfully destroyed the Kerch Bridge, thus cut off the Crimea from Russian reinforcement and resupply, that would be a decisive enough defeat for political efforts to force Russia to a ceasefire, an armistice, or a withdrawal, whatever. But the key element is under Ukraine's control. They have to time, and Zelensky has to, with his generals, has to time to decide when to launch the counteroffensive, when it would have maximum effect on the prospects for obtaining peace. But and if he were to successfully conclude the war on terms clearly favorable to Ukraine, then Zelensky, in my opinion, would benefit enormously politically and economically. People would be flocking, eager to help rebuild Ukraine, eager to help strengthen Ukraine and make Ukraine, in effect, the eastern bulwark of NATO. And the way the political benefits to Zelensky and Ukraine would further accrue if, as a result of a victorious campaign that drives the Russians out or forces them out of Ukraine, would give him enormous benefits in terms of economic assistance, rebuilding assistance, building up Ukraine's military industrial complex, all sorts of benefits. But all of these could be attained only through a significant military victory on the battlefield against the Russians. They are inflicting significant damage on Russia's military infrastructure, on Russia's ability to continue any kind of offensive operations against the Ukrainians. But the key element with the key punch, the Ukrainians still have to throw that decisive punch that will clearly indicate that this war cannot be won ever by the Russians.
Well, I'm going to turn it back over to you and Sasha and everything along those lines. One of the things I was talking to him about, Sasha, is this notion, because I know on our other show, World Edition and everything, Nick was talking about Trump's nomination for the Peace Prize and everything like that. It seems to me that even though he's involved in a war, and there have been people involved in wars like Nelson Mandela that have won the Nobel Peace Prize, that if anybody should be getting a Nobel Peace Prize, and all along those lines, particularly if this war can come to an end, it should be somebody like Zelensky. I also think that he should get the Time Magazine Person of the Year and all along those lines, but that's just my own personal opinion. But I'll turn it to y'all.
I gotta say it, Mark. I find it extremely ironic that the Peace Prize, the Nobel Peace Prize, Alfred Nobel, for whom the Peace Prize was named. You know what Alfred Nobel's great contribution was? Alfred Nobel was the inventor of dynamite.
Right.
Why are you naming a Peace Prize after the man who invented dynamite? Are you kidding me?
Yeah, but aren't there Einstein Awards, and didn't Einstein help with the invention of the nuclear bomb?
Well, he basically said he basically stated it was possible. He didn't go up and draw up the complete blueprint, but he in fact realized that such a thing was possible. That doesn't make him responsible for nuclear weapons. They simply took the knowledge and ran with it.
Right.
A lot of things are possible. For example, Trump getting the Nobel Peace Prize, it's possible. It's very
possible. I mean, if Nobel could have the Peace Prize named after him, being the inventor of dynamite, well, then Trump can win a Nobel Peace Prize, whatever. Mm-hmm. I mean, and also about Man of the Year. Remember, Adolf Hitler was named Man of the Year by Time Magazine. I think it was in 1940 or 1939. I think it was 1939. He was named Man of the Year. Not because he was a great guy, but they were using as the criteria the men who had the greatest consequence, of the person of greatest consequence during a given year. So yes, by that measure, Adolf Hitler would be deserving of Man of the Year because he was the most consequential, not necessarily the most beneficial, but the most consequential.
I think Putin was once a Man of the Year, right?
Yeah, he got one of those too.
So there's a good company there.
Yeah, really. It's like, oh, good grief. Yeah, if they ever want to make either one of us men of the year, we'd be says I would say I would graciously decline. I want to stay in the background. Thank you very much.
Well, so far there are a lot of talks, preparation of the meetings, and so on. But the killing doesn't stop in Ukraine. What's
No,
interesting?
but they have their priorities. Excuse me, we need to go on killing each other.
Yeah,
Sheesh.
it's a kind of it's a separate business. Okay, here's one business: killing as many Ukrainians as possible. Okay, now another business is meeting with Trumps and other important people. So one doesn't doesn't coincide with another one.
Yeah, Putin is obviously thinking, why mix business with pleasure? He
Yeah,
obviously enjoys killing Ukrainians.
yeah, nothing
That's the only
personal.
explanation I have. He must enjoy it. He must enjoy it an awful lot. Otherwise, wouldn't be so hard to get him to stop. But
It's just business, nothing personal. Our
hmm.
business is killing as many Ukrainians as we can. That's our business and nothing personal. Otherwise, you're our brothers and sisters and we love you. See, there are two somewhat conflicting messages.
You keep thinking about that long enough, it's going to make your head explode.
Absolutely agree with you. Well, we are living in this reality. There's many variations of Putin meeting Trump. Zelensky would join them or meeting three of them altogether. And I don't understand if Trump is so-called facilitator of the peace. Why does he need to meet separately with Putin after Wittkov already visited him 5, if not 6 times, and Trump talked on the phone to Putin several times? So, what's the purpose of the what could happen possibly on this meeting that we didn't know at all?
Well, unless Putin surprises the world by actually coming across this, okay, I'm willing to call it quits, I don't see the point. Because again, it just amounts to empty posturing. If all he's going to do is just spin out time, and again, because we can't see everything that goes on behind the scenes. Trump may well have maybe giving tacit permission to Zelensky. It says, okay, let's just say for the sake of argument that Zelensky has informed President Trump that his military they have prepared a decisive operation which they believe will inflict sufficient damage to Russia's capability to continue the war, that go ahead and have your negotiations, but we have chosen we are choosing the time and the place, and then we will see, after we have inflicted what we believe to be the decisive blow, then we will see if Mr. Putin is finally willing to call it quits. And President Trump, because his attitude has changed visibly towards Mr. Putin, he may well have just said, okay, go ahead and do he might well tell Zelensky, go ahead and do what you have to do. Then we'll see if it works.
Yeah. Well, I'm pretty sure that combination of Ukrainians' attacks on Russian territory-based the refineries and other strategic objects like airports, especially military airports and installations, and possible embargo on any Russian selling natural resources, primarily oil. I think combination of two will work. I'm saying 100.
Yeah, you could just you could have increasing combination of increased economic pressure, additional sanctions, more pressure, more attacks on Russia's deep infrastructure, on their ability to continue economic as well as military support for the war. Just keep increasing the pressure until finally Putin reaches his breaking point, where he just says, "Oh, heck with this." And but the thing is, you cannot appeal to his positive side. You cannot, as Lincoln once said, appeal to the better angels of his nature. He has no better angels. So he has only one currency that he operates in, the currency of power. And he might be like I understand he's a reasonably good chess player. Once he is made to see that the position is lost, that he is not going to come up with some miracle move that is going to retrieve victory for him out of the face of what is going to be an imminent defeat, then if Zelensky looks like he's prepared to exchange pieces down and put Russia in an even worse position, eventually Putin will be persuaded that the game is not worth the effort. But that's going to take, in my opinion, a decisive military defeat, visible, not unmistakable, and the only one that really a victory in an oblast on the Eastern Front in Ukraine will not in itself, in my opinion, be sufficient to bring Putin to the table. The most valuable and visible victory would be the isolation and reconquest of Crimea. That is the decisive point, and that is what I am very much waiting for and watching for. And you and I both know that the decisive precursor to that will be the successful destruction of the Kerch Bridge. That the Ukrainians have made several preliminary attacks, what I call preliminary attacks, on that bridge to determine what efforts will it take to destroy it. And the Ukrainians, no doubt, have some secret capabilities in reserve. They are preparing for the proper moment. So that is my assertion. And keep in mind, that is contrary to the assertion of most Western analysts. You'll note that I look at various simulations and various opinions. None of them talk about a decisive counteroffensive that will retrieve the Crimea. They don't say, "Oh, that's not possible." Well, I say it is. It's just a matter of what sort of means you are looking for and what has to be accomplished first in order to make that victory possible. So I'm not saying it's easy, but the Ukrainians have shown themselves to be very resourceful and have surprised us several times during this war with what they are able to do with what they're given.
So, Jonathan, in a view that during this year, although there were a type of interruptions of supplying Ukraine with the weapons, but generally speaking, up to August, Ukraine got quite a lot of weapons from the West, whether it's from US and mostly from Europe, probably. Now, why do you think Ukrainians using all these weapons are not destroying the Kerch Bridge? I'll tell you why I think that it should be destroyed in any case.
Right.
If it's a war, Ukraine has to destroy it, so to cut down supply of Russian troops to Crimea and weapons and so on. Now, if that will be a peace of some kind, so the Crimea will remain with Russia, and at that point, who needs this bridge anyway? So let them build another one. Okay, and yet I have a feeling that Ukraine is ready for substantial attack, whether it's Crimea or some other oblasts, or maybe both, or maybe more than both.
Maybe they've got more capability ready than we think.
I think so. The only thing I believe that they don't do it yet because of all this peace negotiations back and forth, an ultimatum and another deadline, and this is I think Zelensky probably was told, just hold on, don't do anything, just be a good boy, just sit there tight, and we'll tell you when and what to do. Do you think is it possible?
Well, Zelensky,
Everything is possible.
it's
Remember,
possible. It's possible. Whether it's the most likely outcome is another question altogether.
that's another question.
Given the pattern of actions and interactions between Zelensky and President Trump in the past, um, Zelensky Zelensky would be likely to say that he trusts President Trump, but he would quietly be saying, but only up to a certain point. He only up to a certain. He's not going to show abs. He is never. Zelensky will never show all of his cards to the West or to President Trump. He says he realizes that just does not work because there's too much of a chance of that information leaking to Russia and for Russia being then therefore prepared for whatever counter move Zelensky has in mind. So Zelensky is going to keep his most important cards concealed, his most important capabilities secret, as best to the best of his ability, and then once he determines, because he's the real wild card in this situation, once he determines that the time has come to take decisive action, then he will do it. And it's operating on the principle of it is better to ask forgiveness. It's better to beg for forgiveness than to ask for permission.
I think it's Golda Meir said in Israel.
Something along those lines, yeah. Easier to beg forgiveness than to ask permission.
Yeah, something like that. Or better to ask for forgiveness than to be sorry.
Right. Yeah. Similar reasoning. It says, "Oh, sorry, did I take you by surprise with my little attack? Oh well, that's too bad. Oh, we won. How about that? Well, isn't that wonderful?" So, there are still some very interesting moves left to be played in this little game. And
what do you think today is the deadline for this ultimatum? Do you think something will happen today?
Well, yeah, I could pull out my magic coin, flip a coin, and say, okay, heads, something important going to happen. Tail, it won't. I really couldn't tell you. I think that the deadline will pass. Russia will not do anything. Putin will continue to push whatever he believes to be his luck, and continue to be obstinate, continue talking without really doing anything.
And here we have another taco. Trump always chickens out, right?
Well, and Trump doesn't want that. I mean, he hasn't. He doesn't want to revive the taco argument. So I have a feeling that the deadline will pass, and then Trump will say, well, doggone it, you decided to do it the hard way, didn't you? So he will ratchet up the pressure in some way, shape, or form. And he may also surprise us by raising the pressure more than Putin expects. And that will be
you started the process by raising 25% all the tariffs on India. That's already happened.
Mm-hmm.
China resisted in a very aggressive way. They said it's China is a sovereign country. It will trade with whoever he wants to trade, and he doesn't care about whatever America thinks about it. So China is a little bit tougher case, of course, to deal with. And it was expected. That's why he sort of unleashed on India this 25% without waiting what will be happening with China. China is very, very tough situation. Actually, only two countries in the world resisted to Trump's tariffs. It's China and it's Canada. There are two countries in the world.
It's really, Canada, what are you doing here?
Well, Canada is
you beat us in hockey. Wasn't that enough?
Well, what's happened here is interesting. I didn't know that Canada is by far the biggest trading country with the United States. And there are certain things, there is very little what Canada needs from the United States to survive. Very little, because even like California oranges can be replaced with Israel oranges and some probably Colombia oranges if there are any. And Canada supplies a lot of strategic materials, starting from timber to rare earth metals, many of them and water resources and electricity, just name it. And it's very, very important. It's not just oranges. So if Canada will continue with this boycott of the United States, which is happening right now in Canada anyway, with regards to whatever tariffs will be on or off. And Trump alienated the Canadians by several months ago, suggesting that it's 51st state and all that stuff. That talk, I think it's backfires now with complete boycott of United States as a destination for travel and as buying U.S. products in supermarkets or anywhere else. That backfires big time. And I don't know how far he can go in this way with China, because China is just as important trading partner as Canada is, maybe even more so. Who knows?
Well, we shall see how the
We'll see.
combination of all these factors work out in the coming months, because after all, believe it or not, we only passed through the first 6 months of President Trump's second term. And at the rate it's going, and the number of changes, he's not going to take his foot off the accelerator. He knows this is his final term. He's already been asked, "Are you going to run for a third term?" He says, "No, probably not." So, okay, so yeah, he knows this is his defining shot, his chance to define his legacy for not just for the United States, but for the world in general. So he is determined not to be an inconsequential or irrelevant president. So for better or for worse, that is, he is going to be very consequential and very influential. And it remains to be seen how all of this is going to play out. So it's fascinating to watch. But if he can bring a successful end to the Russian-Ukrainian war, it will be a considerable achievement, regardless of how soon it is achieved. They won't say, "Well, he didn't bring peace in one day." Yeah, but at least if he can bring peace and a victorious end for the Ukrainian people, then it's still well worth it. It's still a worthwhile achievement.
Yes, Jonathan, I agree with you. And so we have to just wait maybe until this day to see what's happened with this.
Yeah, it's kind of difficult. It's kind of difficult when you got a twice a week program to say, well, nothing happened yet. Tune in next time.
I think we will have much more information for you by Tuesday.
Oh, definitely there.
Thank you so much for today's program, and we'll see you on Tuesday, same place, same time. And have a great weekend.
You do the same.
For Ukraine.
God bless America, and also let's also throw in Canada just for good measure.
Province of Ontario and City of Toronto. Okay, thank you so much, everybody. Bye-bye.